All right, so thank you again for joining us. Today's info session is going to be about the online Master of Public Health program, or the online MPH program here at the University of Washington School of Public Health. This program is offered in the Department of Health Systems and Population Health within the school here at the UW. And my name is Wade Angeli. I use he, him pronouns, and I am the marketing, communications, and recruitment specialist for the online MPH program specifically. So I work with all students, all prospective students and applicants to this program. Today's info session will be a grand overview of the program. We'll talk about the sort of mission and the format, the focus, curriculum, and admissions. So we'll go over pretty much all of it. I hope that this will be helpful for you to learn more about our program and decide if this would be a good fit for you, and to learn how to apply at the end of it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump in. So the online MPH program has been around for over 40 years. It has sort of changed over the years. It used to be known as an executive MPH and then an online executive MPH, but it has always existed as a Master's of Public Health that is mostly designed for public health professionals who would like to continue their education and gain their master's degree while continuing to work full-time or to work. So it's always been in a distance format or an online format to make it more accessible for those who work full-time or otherwise. Now, you may be familiar that the UW School of Public Health offers several MPH programs. We have 9 total, and they are offered in different departments, and they offer different concentrations and slightly different curriculums and things like that, such as global health or epidemiology, environmental occupational health sciences, nutritional sciences, public health genetics, so on, so on. This program is the only one that we offer online. All of the other MPH programs are in residence, full-time in residence, on-campus program. So this is the only one that we offer online, and it is a general MPH with a focus in public health leadership. So tying back to that whole history of being an executive program for professionals. So our program's mission is to train the next generation of public health leaders, leadership across different sort of areas of public health, with the ultimate underlying, string that ties everyone in our program together is advancing health equity and social justice. So everything we do is through a social justice lens, and we are primarily in this program looking at US-based health systems, healthcare policy, and research in line with the focus of our department, which is, again, health systems and population health. Now, our program, again, will advance the careers of those who may already be working in public health, though many students are in this program to transition into public health from another field or another related, or maybe not so related area or area of work. So our program will, provide the foundations of public health and catch everyone up to speed on sort of the most up-to-date ways that we approach public health. So the common language that we use in identifying and addressing public health disparities across populations and communities. And then, the different programs, policies, interventions that we apply in order to address those issues. So through research, program evaluations, things like that. So again, while we are a general program, and we do have a very diverse range of students in terms of their backgrounds and maybe their specific interests within public health, we have that focus in public health leadership, and really throughout US-based health systems, healthcare, policy and research. Now, the Masters of Public Health is sort of becoming the new standard in public health for many folks who, may already be working in the field and need the master's in order to gain new responsibilities or move up into more management and leadership roles. And so that is, again, the main mission of our program. So a quick look at our student body. We have 2 entries to the program in both spring and fall. So we welcome a cohort of around 30 students each spring and fall. I have some demographics here just to get an idea. The majority of our students do identify as female and are Washington State residents. Though otherwise, we are a diverse program in terms of ethnicities and identities, but also backgrounds, so academic and professional backgrounds, as well as ages and where they are in their career. Though many of our students are sort of mid-career professionals, we do have some with just a few years of experience, and then we have some with, a decade or more, if not 20 plus years of experience. So that is not uncommon in our program. I did mention that the majority or most of our students are Washington State residents. Of course, you don't have to be a resident in order to attend our program, especially because it is mostly online and we have limited in-person sessions, which I'll talk about in general. However, we have a very small number of international students, and if there are any international applicants or interested international parties listening, I do want to take this moment to explain our eligibility for this program. So international applicants are welcome to this program. However, they are only eligible if they already have a US visa status or are able to obtain one, for example, through their employer or through their spouse. Our program, because it is not an in-residence program, we do not sponsor the student visas necessary to enroll. But if you are an international applicant, but you are residing in the US, or you have ways of obtaining the visa through your employer or spouse, you may be eligible. But please, if this does pertain to you, please reach out to me individually and we can discuss this to make sure that you are eligible for this program. So the outlook for our program, of course, is very strong. Many of our students are already working full-time, and at the end of the program, they may transition to a new role within their same employer, or they may move to a completely different role, more in line with the skills that they gained in the MPH, or moving up into management or leadership roles. But the main areas where our alumni are working are, again, in line with the sort of overall focus of our program, which is in healthcare, whether that's working directly in healthcare institutions like hospitals, clinics, etc., or if they're working on more policy or public programs in government agencies, whether that's local or state. For example, public health at Seattle-King County is local to the UW as you can get. And then the Washington State Department of Health. But then we've also seen folks work for larger national or international organizations, for example, like the CDC, different sorts of research companies or firms, public or private, working in academia, like at a university doing research, or research center here at the UW, for example. And then working in private firms or pharmaceutical companies or something like that. And then another portion of our program are more focused on either grassroots or community organizations, NGOs, nonprofits, things like that, more focused on health promotion within communities or community programs. And then smallest portion here in this pie chart, at least, we do have folks that have found roles that you might not immediately consider public health sector, So for example, working within a non-public health company, like in tech or something like that, working to either promote the health and well-being of employees or their constituents, or community engagement with other through other sorts of companies. So we've seen that, as well as the skills and the expertise gained in the MPH can be applied to, as we've mentioned, a variety of fields and workplaces. Here's just a list of job titles. I'm not going to read through all of these, but many of our alumni are coordinating, managing, or directing programs, projects, research, again, across health institutions, research facilities, and in government agencies often. We do have many health professionals come into our MPH program. So they may be clinicians, physicians, nurses, physical therapists, dentists. We see all types of health professionals coming to get the MPH. And so, of course, your combined experience and combined degrees may offer you a different sort of range of roles, like medical director or clinical instructor, things like that. Now let's get into the actual program format and break it down in numbers. So first and foremost, our program is a 63 credit program. The UW is on a quarter system, and we offer 2 official tracks to move through the program. An 18-month full-time accelerated program, which is 6 continuous quarters. This is our traditional model. This has kind of been the default that most people have done the program for the last several years before we were really able to offer more flexibility. And so this past year, we have now been able to offer an official part-time track because we added the spring cohort. So traditionally, we just had the fall entry and the 18-month option, but now that we have entry in the spring and fall, we offer our courses twice a year for each of those cohorts. And so we're able to offer an official part-time track in 27 months or 9 continuous quarters. And I have the credits per quarter and the hours. We can sort of generally say that 1 credit is worth about 3 hours of work per week. So that's where we're getting that estimate of 10 or 11 credits full-time is about 30 to 35 hours per week. That does include watching the recorded lectures, participating in discussions online, completing the readings, the tasks, any other sort of assignments or work for the program. So that does include all of it, but of course that is a lot to manage, particularly if you are already working full-time or more than full-time. The vast majority of our students are working full-time while in the program, and many of them, want to complete their degree as fast as possible. One thing to note, our in-residence MPH programs are all 2 years. This is 18 months, and it is considered accelerated slightly because we do not break for the summer quarter. We run continuously through the summer quarter, whereas our in-residence programs do not. And often folks will take that summer to work on their practicum, but our program is a little different in that we have courses through the summer as well. Now, for the part-time track, we'll look at the curriculum in a moment, more sort of in depth, or you can see the full curriculum and all the courses. The first quarter will be 10 credits. And then after that, each quarter would be 6 or 7 credits in that part-time track, which will be more like a 20-hour per week after that first quarter. When we will look at the curriculum, we'll see that 4 credits of that 63 credits is a practicum, which we'll give a little bit more information about, but it is sort of what you may have heard of, like an externship, internship, project-based appointment. And then our program culminates in the integrative learning experience, which is kind of like a capstone project within a course. So we no longer offer a thesis or a capstone project. It is now sort of final project or final projects, applied skills within a course known as the integrative learning experience, or ILE. In terms of the actual format, now I've mentioned it's mostly online, and we do have some limited in-person sessions, but we'll never have daytime classes. We have weekly meetings that are always Tuesday or Thursday between 7 and 9 p.m. Pacific time. So this is important to consider if you're not on the West Coast, that if you are, Central time, Eastern time, whatever, that it will be a little bit later for you. So that is something to consider. But your class schedule will be determined by if you start the program in the spring or the fall, and if you are full-time or part-time. So for example, if you start full-time in the fall, your classes will always be Thursdays, 7 to 9 p.m. If you are part-time, you may have 1 hour on Tuesdays and 1 hour on Thursdays. And if you're full-time in spring, you'll have them always on Tuesdays. So your class schedule will depend on your particular track, but it will always be consistently within those timeframes. So that is something that you must commit to, and you must be available for those live sessions. Otherwise, the vast majority of the program is asynchronous. So that does mean sort of recorded lectures, asynchronous discussions. There's some group work, and you can do that asynchronously with your group, or you may organize a time within your group to meet synchronously online. Now, we do have it is technically a hybrid program because we do have in-person sessions, but really we only require our students to attend the first one, whereas the second and the third are optional. And I'll show you more now about what those in-person sessions look like. This is what the schedule would look like for the 18-month. It is going to be a little different if you're doing the part-time track or the 27-month track. But if you start in spring, your classes will start late March, and the week before classes will be a 3-day orientation. Similarly, in fall, classes begin at the end of September. The week before that, you'll have a 3-day orientation. And the first session is the one that we require, as it's the most important, to have critical trainings before we begin our courses. And there's a lot of other workshops for professional development to build leadership skills, communication skills. There's a sort of statistics boot camp to prepare for the quantitative demands of the analytical skills course at the beginning of the program, like biostats and data analysis. And it's really just, we stress the opportunity to meet face-to-face with the other students in the cohort, as well as our instructors, alumni, guest speakers, and staff. So we really pride our program on not being an isolated sort of island program. There will be a lot of opportunities for you to connect with your colleagues. Of course, our cohorts are constantly in contact online, and we have that weekly meeting so that you are still immersed in the cohort. We have a strong team-based learning approach, and yet we try to make it, convenient for folks that aren't able to, get the immersive on-campus experience. So we do have these in-person sessions that we recommend or encourage all students to attend, but the second session is optional. It is typically just 1 or 2 days. It is what we would call a midpoint, and depending on if you're spring or depending on if you're full-time or part-time, it will either be the first 6 months or first year into your program. It's always in the fall quarter or the autumn quarter. So it is cross-cohort and an opportunity to meet folks that you may not have classes with, to expand your networks and get in touch with other students in the program. Finally, the last session, I actually have not updated it. I just realized I updated the other slide, but not this one. My apologies. The final session is no longer required because we do not require final presentations on the project in person. So the final session is really just graduation ceremony and reception, an opportunity to meet with your colleagues and to wrap up the program before setting off. So again, we stress the importance of being able to attend that first session, which is going to be 3 days, and it usually does take place on weekdays and maybe the weekend. So it could be like Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So our students are taking time off in order to attend those because they'll be morning and afternoons, Thursday and Friday, for example, and then most of the morning and early afternoon on Saturday as well. Whereas the midpoint and the graduation are typically on weekends. The schedule does sort of change each year, but you'll have ample time in advance to make your plans accordingly. And like I said, this is just a really important part that we are really proud of, that our students can take advantage of to really make those connections from the very beginning and connect with the other students that you'll be in classes with and you'll make connections with throughout the whole program. And then a lot of added value in terms of skill building and workshops that are not part of the actual online courses. Now we'll take a look at the curriculum. This is the course list for the 18-month. Well, the course list is the same regardless of if you're doing full-time or part-time, but here we have it listed out in the 18-month track. The curriculum, if I haven't already mentioned, is a fixed curriculum. We do not have any electives or concentrations as part of this program. Again, it is a general MPH with a focus in public health leadership. So in the first 3 quarters, you'll see we're covering the foundations. These PHI courses, there's 6 of them. They are part of the MPH core curriculum or the Common Core curriculum, which is the same basis for all of our MPH programs here at the UW. So foundations of public health, statistics and data analysis, both quantitative and qualitative skills, public health practice and interventions, things like that. Now, in lieu of electives, we have included courses that are in line with our focus within our department, health systems and population health. So we do have, public policy, community research. We do include an environmental and occupational health course, a global health course, and then the later part of the program is really focused on that public health leadership aspect. So we have a 2-part leadership course. The first one, organizational and financial management, and the second part, systems thinking, as well as a project management course, health communication and health promotion course, and then the practicum and the integrative learning experience that I mentioned before. So you can see that the practicum is split up. So in the 4th quarter, really it's set up so that there's a 1 credit planning. So you're getting your practicum set up so that you can do the bulk of the work the following quarter. We do have a lot of flexibility with the practicum in terms of exactly what you want to do with it, but also you don't have to limit yourself to just completing it in 1 quarter. It can be done over a longer period of time. We've had students sort of reorganize their schedule or take a quarter just to do their practicum so that they can really dive in. It is a 160-hour commitment, and it is a project-based appointment essentially at a real agency or organization. So many students come in with some idea already. I think the strongest candidates for our program will already have a sense of what they want to do within public health, and they may already have an idea of where they want to do their practicum, like an organization, an organization that they are familiar with or they've done work with in the past. Some do their practicum at their employer, and that is okay, or that is acceptable as long as it's not your day-to-day job. It would need to be with a different supervisor in a different department, something like that. But the practicum, you can do all sorts of things with it. You can do things related to more related to your local community. You can do something more broader. You can do something with schools. You could do something with mental health. You could do something with environmental health. You can do something with disease or infection prevention. Really, there are so many opportunities within the practicum for you to make it your own and do something that is really of your own interest. I encourage you to visit our website. We have some examples on the Online MPH website of what our students have done, but then there's also the School of Public Health's practicum website where you can find examples and all the different organizations that we've worked with in the past. So you can come with us with an idea, or we can help find you a placement. We have a practicum director specifically for our program that works with every student to help get it set up and organized and approved. And then we also have support from the experiential learning manager at the school that we can pull resources to help find you a good placement. And then, like I already mentioned, the program culminates in the integrative learning experience, which is essentially a capstone course, which is a way to apply everything you've done or learned in the program to a final project or final projects with opportunity to collaborate and really not do it alone or independently, but also have it supported or sort of scaffolded within a course. All right, so let's move into admissions and the sort of application process. So like I've mentioned, we have entry to the program in both spring and fall. The next available entry will be spring 2024, which will start in March. And that application is not yet open, but it opens soon. So the application will open in SOFIS on August 16th, which is just in a couple weeks. And the general deadline will be October 15th. I say general deadline because pretty consistently over the last couple of years, the last several cycles, we have had rolling admissions based on space available in the program after the general deadline. And so if you're interested in our program but not sure you can make it by a certain deadline, there may be still a chance to apply after the deadline. I encourage you to just double check on the website or reach out to make sure that we're still able to accept applications. But in the past, we've had rolling admissions pretty consistently for at least a month or two after the general deadline. The fall application will open soon as well. That one will open September 1st, and the general deadline will be January 15th. Now, I will show very soon like the full process of required materials, but I'll say now, SOFIS, if you're not familiar, the SOPHAS, that is the common application for schools of public health or public health programs that all of the UW's MPH programs are on. So we have the bulk of our application through SOFIS, and we also have a complementary or I should say supplementary application with the UW graduate school application. So there are two parts to the application. One thing is that for the UW application, the UW graduate application, we offer an application fee waiver to folks who qualify through a variety of ways, but for those who are with me live right now, you qualify for the $85 application fee waiver just by attending today's session. But that does not cover the SOFIS application fee. So let me just skip ahead for a moment. You can see that for the SOFIS application, there is a $145 application fee for the first program. And then I think it's $55 for each additional program. The UW does not offer, or our program does not offer fee waivers for SOFIS. SOFIS offers fee waivers. And the reason why I'm bringing this up now is that you can see that For fall 2024, our application deadline is January 15th. However, many other programs on SOFIS, including the UW's in-residence programs, have earlier deadlines, such as December 1st, December 15th. Because many fall programs have earlier deadlines, those SOFIS fee waivers will likely be exhausted or they will run out before the January 15th deadline. So I just wanted to take this moment to let you know that if you are interested in applying for fall and you want to take advantage of a SOFIS fee waiver, we encourage you to apply earlier, because last year, by the time the January 15th deadline rolled around for fall 2023, SOFIS fee waivers had all been exhausted. So I just wanted to mention that right now as a heads up. So we will not be able to review your application any sooner. We do not review applications until after the general deadline. But if you want a better chance of getting that SOFIS fee waived, we encourage you to apply earlier for the fall. Okay, so let me just go over very quickly our minimum admission requirements. They're pretty straightforward. We require all of our applicants to have at least a bachelor's degree, at least 2 years professional experience, and at least a 3.0 GPA. Now, for the professional experience, this does not have to be specific to public health, although it is encouraged that our applicants have at least some exposure to public health or a related field. If none of your experience is in public health or a related field, we would encourage you to get some sort of volunteer experience with some exposure to public health. But otherwise, all sorts of professional experience would fulfill this requirement. It just needs to be the equivalent of 2 years full-time. It can include multiple positions, it can include internships, but it needs to be the equivalent of at least 2 years full-time professional experience. Because of that, we don't see as many students come directly from their undergraduate experience unless they worked full-time prior or had a lot of work experience throughout. But many of our students have 5, 10, or even more years of professional experience. And it is important for all of our students to have at least 2 years so that they can better apply the management and leadership components of our program. And we believe that you'll get more out of it with some professional experience under your belt, if you will. Now, the GPA requirement is a requirement of the UW Graduate School, and it is calculated based on your most recent graded credits. So from your most recent, if you've taken classes after your degree or have multiple degrees, you'll calculate your GPA from your most recent course graded courses, moving backwards for 60 semester credits or 90 quarter credits. There is a possibility that even if you are just slightly below 3.0, that if you are an otherwise excellent candidate, that our admissions committee can petition the graduate school to accept the student. And I have seen that in the past where a student who, has, say, 10 years of relevant experience and they've been out of school for 10 years and their GPA is 2.8, 2.9. The rest of their application and of course all their professional experience make them an excellent candidate. So we do take a holistic approach to admissions, but if the GPA is lower than 2.9, 2.8, it is less likely that we would be able to successfully petition for that student to be accepted to the UW. So wanted to point that out as well. Now back to the application materials. It does sort of seem like a lot. It's a lot to take in. We have step-by-step application instructions on our website, but I think it is also a little easier to navigate once you're actually in the application systems. So in the SOFIS application, that's where most of the materials will go, and that includes your transcripts, CV or resume, and your your references or letters of recommendation, which should come from at least one professional reference. It can be a mix, professional and academic references, but because of our professional experience requirement and the nature of our program, at least one of your references should be professional reference, and many of our applicants apply with only professional references, and that is acceptable. The UW School of Public Health has general statements for all MPH applicants. This includes the personal history statement and the equity, justice, and anti-racism statement. There are prompts for all of these statements and questions within the applications and on our website. Essentially, the personal history statement is an opportunity for you to give us a fuller picture of yourself that would not be evident in any of your other application materials. And this can include your own personal background and reasons for pursuing public health. We value lived experience. Many folks have had firsthand or secondhand experience with disparities and inequities within health systems. And so we value that as experience and, relevant reasons for being, inspired or wanting to be involved in public health. So that is your opportunity to discuss that if that is applicable to you. Whereas the equity, justice, and anti-racism statement is important for all of our applicants to acknowledge the values at the core of the School of Public Health and our program, to speak on, your commitment to equity, diversity, inclusion, anti-racism. How has this played a part in your life or your work, and for you to acknowledge what that means to you and that you would be a good fit for our program. The program itself, the online MPH program, has a statement of purpose. So specifically, why are you applying to the Masters of Public Health? What are your goals, career goals? And specifically, why is it the online MPH, whether that's the format or the focus, the faculty, whatever it is that drew you to our program. And then we also have supplemental questions, including how you intend to sort of balance the online program with your life. How do you incorporate the online learning with your full-time job, your community, your family life, whatever it is? Because again, like I mentioned, I stress the time commitment and that it can be increasingly difficult to manage the more you have going on. Whether that is working full-time, working working overtime, having a lot going on in your family or community, whatever it is. And so we want to set clear expectations that our program, although online and asynchronous, is still a full-time graduate program at the full-time curriculum, and we're not going to sugarcoat it. It is intensive and rigorous. Finally, an academic history question will ask, how are you prepared for the quantitative and writing demands of the programs? Those are going to be the trickiest part. And while it isn't an explicit requirement of our program, our admissions committee will look to see if you have taken higher level math courses or statistics and how you performed in those courses, or if you have professional experience with statistics or data analysis, as that plays a huge role in the Public Health Foundation's curriculum, but also just in public health in general. And for many students, that may be one of the more challenging aspects of the program. So please use that opportunity to discuss your preparation for those demands, academic demands. And then we have optional, you can apply for 2 scholarships, the H-Seat Award, which is a departmental award, and the Public Health Leadership Promise, which is specifically for the online MPH program. We have more information on those awards on our website. and within the application as well. But those two scholarships you can apply for directly within the application for admission. So it's convenient to do so. Now, like I said, there is a supplemental application with the UW Graduate School. The most important thing here is that you will have, for those of you attending the session live, if you registered and attended, you will qualify for the fee waiver. I will follow up with an email to you all who are attending live so that you have instructions on how to process the application fee waiver. And then really critically important is to link the two applications together. So in the SOFIS application, it'll ask for your UW graduate application ID number and vice versa. Otherwise, we will not be able to review your application unless both have been completed and submitted and linked. All right, finally, sort of getting into the last slides here. Of course, the cost of the program is very important for many folks to consider. The online MPH program is what's known as a fee-based program. So while the UW is a public institution and many of our MPH programs are on a tuition model, so they charge tuition based on residency, so in-state tuition, out-of-state tuition, international student tuition. For the online MPH, we charge a fee per credit, which is the same for all students regardless of residency. So the current cost per credit is $940. So for the 63 credits plus quarterly fees, which are typically a few $100s each quarter, you're looking at around $60,000 for the total cost of the degree. I've been asked, is there any cost difference between full-time or part-time? For part-time, you'll be paying for just the credits that you're taking. So you'll be paying less per quarter, but you will be paying for 3 additional quarters. So that's 3 additional quarters of fees, mandatory quarterly UW fees, which again are a few hundred each quarter. So while not negligible, also not very, not a huge significant increase in price, but something to consider when budgeting for the program. Important here is that because it is a fee-based program and not a tuition-based program, which means that a tuition-based program is state-supported, this program is not eligible for the Washington State Employees Tuition Waiver Program, unfortunately. So if you work for Washington State or a public institution and you were hoping to take advantage of the tuition waiver, unfortunately, that is not eligible or applicable for this program based on the resources and the fee structure. But main thing here, we're looking at around $60,000 total cost of the online MPH. Now, even though it's a fee-based program, you can still qualify and apply financial aid, and many scholarships are still eligible or applicable to the program, but I would just keep an eye out for sort of awards, or there are some awards out there, or for a certain assistantships or something, that the compensation is a tuition waiver, and anything like that would not be applicable to our program. But otherwise, monetary, a certain numerical amount of institutional scholarships or external funding would of course be able to apply. We have resources on our website of ways to find additional funding, including the UW's Graduate Funding Information Service, which is sort of like an award board. You can search for different funding opportunities through there. And then again, the program and the departmental awards, as well as the School of Public Health has the Dean's Office Master's Fellowship Award. And just this past year, we had at least 2 online MPH students receiving that award for, I think, $10,000, $15,000, or $20,000. So we encourage you to look into those scholarships as well. Now, to sort of wrap it up, and we'll have time for questions, why would you choose this program? Why would you choose the online MPH here at the University of Washington? Well, for one thing, we are one of the top public health schools in the country and also the world. We have been highly ranked as a public institution, but a global institution for our public health programs in particular. And part of that, we believe, is due to our foundational commitment to equity, diversity, inclusion, and anti-racism. So again, our program would be a great fit for you if you are particularly drawn to advancing health equity and social justice through public programs, policy, public health interventions. This program, again, focuses on public health leadership. So we are training the next generation of public health leaders, and we're doing so in the sort of most convenient, accessible way possible for those who want to continue to work full-time while getting their advanced degree with that unique hybrid and team-based online learning approach. Of course, our faculty and our instructors are incredible, doing all sorts of research and really engaging with our students on a very close basis. We're not an isolated island program, and there is a lot of opportunity for collaboration and close-knit instruction. And if you aren't located in Seattle or nearby, it is a wonderful place to visit for those in-person sessions if you are going to join our program. So I'm going to end now. Here's my contact information. If you have any follow-up questions, you can email me. That's the best way to get in touch with me, onlinemph@uw.edu. Or you can book an advising appointment, a one-on-one appointment with me if you'd like to discuss things further. Of course, I have time right now for your questions if you want to enter them into the chat or come off mute. But if this has been satisfactory, I just want to thank you so much before you head off. Thank you for your interest in our program and for attending the session today. And to all of you attending live, I will be following up with some instructions on the fee waiver. Thank you. So I just got a question. What is the acceptance rate for the program? So I do not have an acceptance rate to share. I don't think it's really beneficial or helpful for our students or applicants. And the reason is that our program has only recently essentially doubled its capacity for students. Primarily, we just had that fall entry for around 35 students. And now we have spring entry as well, where we're getting again, around 30 students in both spring and fall. So just in the last couple of years, we have been able to accept more students into our program, but it doesn't really affect the quality of our applicants or our accepted students. We have seen growing interest in public health through the last several years, but I think it's starting to level out a little bit now. Of course, there was heightened interest and renewed interest in public health, particularly during the pandemic. But generally, I just want to say that all students or all applicants who have met the minimum admission requirements for our program and make a great case for themselves, being strong writers and demonstrating their, their candidacy for this program and their statements, they will be given full consideration. We have had rolling admissions for the last several cycles. So, I think we have capacity to accept the students that are qualified and make great candidates for this program. So I don't think it would be, helpful to tell you that, oh, we're a very, although the UW is a very, prestigious university, I don't think our program is as competitive as some of our in-residence programs because we have that increased capacity, but also it's graduate school, and I think that the vast majority of our applicants to the program are only applying because they know that they would strongly consider enrolling if they were admitted, and that they're not just applying on a whim. We want to make sure that this would be a good fit for those of you who are applying. So that is a long-winded way of saying I don't have an acceptance rate, but as long as you meet the minimum requirements, you'll be given full consideration. All right, so another question, is there a preferred order of applications? Your slide mentioned the SOFIS app, the Online MPH app, and then the UW Grad app. So I just ordered, there's only 2 applications. I ordered them in this way, that there's the SOFIS application, and within the SOFIS application, this includes requirements for the whole school and requirements specific to our program. Then we have the UW Graduate School application, which is separate. The order does not really matter, but I think it's best to complete your SOFIS application first, because that's going to be where the bulk of your materials. If you just submit a UW graduate application and we don't see your SOFIS application, we'll be very confused. Whereas if we see that someone has applied on SOFIS, but they just haven't applied to UW graduate school application, we'll assume that, you know, they meant to apply fully. They just maybe haven't gotten to that last step yet. So I encourage you to do both and they can be done at the same time. Again, the UW graduate school application is less of the applicant materials and more just general information, unofficial transcripts, and the application fee. Thank you for your questions. All right, thank you so much for joining. I don't see that we have any other questions in the chat, but so you're free to go if you have no further questions. Thanks again for attending, and enjoy the rest of your week and your weekend. Thank you. Take care, everybody.